I will recognize that we have Tom and Rich from the city of Woodland, myself, and our newest council member and newest member of this body, Josh Chapman, who will be swearing in momentarily from the city of Davis, and Camille from the from campus, and maybe Don Saylor will be joining us later. Don't say hi, but you gotta go. I'm gonna meet there. Okay. Hi. Okay. Okay, you gotta go play. She can't hear whatever iPad was doing. No, guys, I'm in a meeting. I'm leading the meeting right now. So go. Bye. Bye. Love you. Bye. 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 Close the door. Oh my gosh. It already started. I thought we were maybe avoiding that by doing it so early. Okay, here we are. Focusing. Do I hear a motion for approval of the agenda? And I think Josh,
so moved.
Took this out for just now. So moved by Tom.
Seconded by Rich.
Seconded by Rich. I'll do a roll call vote. Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, and I vote aye. And now we will move on to public comment. Are there any general public comments for this meeting? Has anybody?
None received at the agency office.
None received. So we'll close public comment, move on to agency business. Item number 1 is the oath of office for our newly elected and newly appointed director, Josh Chapman. So who will be administering that oath?
Hi, good morning. Because we're doing these meetings online right now, I think we would ask Josh to read the text on the slide.
There you go. Go ahead, Josh.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I, Josh Chapman, do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
So taken. Congratulations and welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
So you are now a voting member of this body, and your first opportunity will be item 2, which is the consent calendar. This is a slate of minutes as well as the treasurer's quarterly report. Are there any items here that folks would like to pull for any reason, or absent that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I would like to add one quick clarification. The treasurer's quarterly report was slightly delayed. That'll be coming out today after the meeting.
Got it. So we'll remove item D from the approval. Is that, and can we just do it at another meeting if it's not out? I don't know that we want to approve it.
Yes. Yeah, we can do it at another meeting.
Motion to approve items A, B, and C.
Moved by Rich. Is there a second?
Second by Stallard.
Seconded by Stallard. Any discussion on this matter?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor. Oh, wait, sorry. I'll do a roll call vote. Director Stallard.
Aye.
Director Landsberg.
Aye.
Director Chapman.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, so it passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to item 3, which is the general manager and operations updates.
Good morning. I can take over for this item, or at least the first part of it. For Josh's benefit, we're meeting next week, Wednesday, to take a tour of the water plant and kind of walk through agency history, the agency's water rights, challenges to our water rights, and our budget items in more detail. That's kind of an informal meeting. Kind of want to preface a little bit. There's certain terms that we use in our reports and our budget updates that are probably unique to just water utilities. So some of them may be unfamiliar. So really feel free to ask whatever questions you want now, but we will go over these in detail next week. And that the meeting next week is a very informal meeting. We can talk about anything. But feel free to ask any questions today on things that may be new.
Yeah, I'll second that. This is a highly technical operation that we have here, so there's no dumb questions.
Yep. And some really obscure terminology that we use.
I saw
so,
the.
kind of 5 topics we have today is where we are in the joint intake erosion control improvement. Joint intake is a facility that's our facility in the Sacramento River, where we shore that with RD 2035. That pumps water from the river to our water treatment plant here in Woodland. And then an update on the AWIA emergency response plan, update on the water supply risk and alternatives evaluation. That's a study that's been ongoing for about a year now. My favorite topic, quick water supply outlook and where we are this year, and then our operations update. The joint intake erosion control improvement. This is a project that we had planned to do this past year. Started permitting over a year ago. We received our permits, I think as early October, we finally got them. At least the last one. Could not do the work last year because we're not allowed to work on the Sacramento River levee system after November 1 because of flood season starts then. So that project is pushed back till next summer. We are continuing to work with RD 2035. We took a bit of a break because it's winter now. But we'll start again with them very soon on are they bidding the project out or redoing it, and we'll get that work completed next summer. The picture on the bottom is kind of a picture of the erosion, and the scale of it's a bit hard to tell, but there's about 2 feet or so of levee embankment that had washed away in the river over the past couple winters that we're working to fix that. So that'll be a next summer project. The AWIA, this is something we've been working on really most of this year, or last year rather. This is the 2018 federal law that we had to, is basically look at risk and resiliency assessment of our facility and an emergency response plan for basically all water utilities in the country. So we completed the risk and resiliency assessment back in April. We completed the emergency response plan. It was due by September 30th. I think we did filed it the week before or something like that. We made all the requirements. It's kind of an interesting exercise. We found out because we are a water utility, we do have facilities, we do have some vulnerabilities if there was a bad actor trying to do something to us. But the good news is that because we are new, our facilities were all designed and constructed with current security measures and practices in place. We're actually well protected. There was really nothing out of that effort that we have to make changes to our systems. So that's actually overall really good news. Any questions on the AWIA? Okay, water supply risk and alternatives evaluation. So this is something that we've been working on for a while, really kind of looking into risks, particularly in winter months, but also a bit in summer months to our water rights. So the draft report has been completed. We are reviewing that now over the next couple of weeks. And we're planning on having a more detailed presentation at the board meeting in April on end results and what we're looking at doing. So water supply outlook, we are now at the end of January. I put this up because it's kind of, I think there's some risks that we may want to address for next summer that could be happening. So as you may know, it hasn't really rained a whole lot in October, November, December, January. We're now at the end of January. So this is this graphic is eight gauging stations in the northern part of California, which is the water supply to Sacramento River, which is where our water comes from. So it's basically up above Shasta and Oroville, and it tracks basically cumulative rainfall throughout the year. The shaded area is the average. So the top of the shaded area is the average rainfall. Everything below it is below and above it is above. The different colored lines are rainfall years. Where we are this year, we're at the darker blue line, pretty much at the bottom where it says current 10.7. We're just above the 1976-77 drought year, below last year, which was a very dry year. Currently, as of yesterday, we are at 40% of rainfall this year in the part that matters to us. So it's
That's an improvement.
It's an improvement, yes, but it's still very dry. The rain this week isn't really helping the North State very much. It's mainly central southern Sierras. I checked this morning, Shasta's not getting a lot of inflow from this storm. So it's looking like it's going to be a dry winter for us. Okay, next slide. So this is Lake Shasta itself. This is the storage as of 2 days ago in Lake Shasta. The same thing, the shaded area is the average, the top of the shaded area is the average line. The red line is the 1976-77 drought. That's the drought of record that everybody kind of uses as like the worst case. The green and blue line up above are wet years. One of them was right after the dry year. The other one was a 82, 83, which I think is the record wet year. Currently, the darker blue line, the heavier blue line that says 2.099 is the where we are today, or actually as of 2 days ago. It's low. Shasta is quite low. It's not really getting the inflow that it needs. So I think the combination of the two graphs, I think there's a pretty healthy risk that this summer will be a Shasta critical year. And the importance in that is that cuts our senior water right by 25%. So it's a bit too early to be alarmed, but the trend is that it's probably going to be a Shasta critical year this year. So it's just kind of a little bit of I'll let you know, we do watch this very carefully. I'm not too terribly worried about term 91 right now because it is raining. I think we should be able to get through the winter, the rest of the winter just fine. But I think next summer is something that we may want to start looking at doing because I think we maybe have a cutback in our water rights. Next, I'll turn it over to Stan to talk about the operations side of things.
Sure. Thanks, Tim. Real quick, you know, as most know, we've been operating the plant at a little lower capacity when term 91 was in effect. So December averaged around just under 9 million gallons. You can see the splits there between the three partners. We continue to meet all of our requirements and all of our diversions and quantities are posted as normal. And as you mentioned there, term 91 was lifted December 24th. So we're, you know, currently have no restrictions on our draw from the river. So all the partners are taking, you know, their full allotment that they need to supply demand. And then so far this year, Shasta was a normal year this year, but as Tim just mentioned, moving into next year, probably I think in March timeframe, we'll get an indication whether or not it's Shasta critical as declared, which based on the information Tim just showed you, it's probably likely it's going to be a Shasta critical year, unless.
And if we had a Shasta critical year in recent past, like I'm thinking at the height of the recent drought, 2013, 2014.
Yeah, I think it was in 2014 or 15.
Yeah, one of the years we were in critical. But even then, term 91, I don't believe was in effect for the full 6-month period that we have that draw from Shasta. I'm trying to remember that, Tim. Like it's back a couple years now, but it was we did go through one summer of Shasta critical. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then just a couple things we're working on. We do have it's been in the works, and we've mentioned it before. We are repairing our jib crane, which allows access to the southernmost fish screen. We do have those plans and specs. We just need to get the welder on board to get that done. And then we're also going to be adding I'm losing it now. We're going to be adding to the ladder that goes up to the roof. To make it safe. Right now, the individual that gets up there while they're hooked on, they have to lean way out to open up the hatch, and we certainly want to prevent any mishaps there. So we'll be adding in a landing up there where they can open that hatch safely. And then we did find out, we did ultimately understand that we had some seepage based on when we put the pipeline in back in 15 and 16 onto the PCP land out there. We were seeping from a culvert from the Highline ditch, the irrigation ditch that Conway runs. So they will be repairing that. I need to chat with Mike Hall, their operations manager, to make sure they get that done. And then we did repair, we discovered there was a collapsed irrigation line crossing County Road 103 that we had inadvertently damaged when the pipe went in. It wasn't discovered here simply because the property owner had not used it since then. So we went ahead and repaired that. And that's it for the ops update, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from folks or comments?
Okay,
Rich?
can I go back to the Shasta water. So I have a question, Tim and Stan, and that's this. It's predicted that Shasta is going to get about, let's see, 60 inches of snow in the next week. Will that help improve the flow into the dam?
It will help a little bit. The flows did come up a little bit, but not too dramatically. In order for it to not be a Shasta critical year this year, the total inflow throughout the rainy season needs to be 3 million acre feet. And I don't think they're getting anywhere close to that. That's great so far anyways. But it could turn around if February, March end up being wet months, it could turn around.
All right, let's pray for rain.
North of us.
Yes.
Yes, rain north, rain to the north. That's what we're looking for. Okay.
That's what we were getting in December. What little rain we got was up here, but not this recent system.
Right. Okay.
Okay. With that, I'll close item 3, and we'll move on to item number 4, which is the mid-year budget update.
Yep. Just a few things to report on the budget update. Can slide get advanced?
Here we go.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So a few things to mention, and Josh, we'll go over this in a lot more detail at our meeting next week. But feel free to ask any questions that you may have. So our approved budget was 19.26 million. Of that, about 45% is ongoing O&M. And then 10.6 million of that, or 55%, is debt service. And historically, we've been pretty close at 50-50, but a little bit less balanced this time. So the budget update today covers actual expenditures through end of November, anticipated through end of December, and then projection through the rest of the fiscal year. There's only one area that we are over one of our line items in our budget, and that is for supplemental water purchases. And most of you know the reasons why. We did 2 water purchase agreements this year, and then used a lot of the first one that we bought, and so much so that we bought another one. So how we've been budgeting this is that we know we budget in June. We do not know in June what the weather is going to be like in October, November, December. Is it raining or not? Is Term 91 happening or not? So we kind of took a middle of the road approach in our budgeting, that we budget some money for it, but not the worst case scenario. We don't budget 0. We don't budget the worst case. We budget somewhere in the middle. That's worked out really well in 2018 and 19. 2018, we used that amount pretty much perfectly. 2019, we did not use it. This year, we've more than doubled what we used. So overall, it's okay. It fits within our budget, but we are over that one by about $100,000. And it's really due entirely to the fact that Term 91 went until December 24th. And we had to use the water that we purchased in order to continue to deliver water. Next slide. But the good, I guess, if there is good news about Term 91 curtailment, it did cause us to decrease one of our budget areas, and that's our variable operation and maintenance costing electricity. We spend in the neighborhood of $2 million a year in electricity, a little bit less than that. And then variable O&M costs are really chemicals and other parts of treating water that we pay directly. Because Term 91 curtailment went a very long time this year, we had to cut flows to the partners, and because we cut flows to the partners, we used less electricity and less chemicals. So we are under budget quite a bit under that category, simply because the curtailment went too long. So it really more than offsets the water purchase cost. We are under budget on the joint intake project, mainly because we did not do that work this year. That'll roll over to next year. The operation and contingency, this is something we carry in our budget every year, just in case something happens at the water plant or the intake that we need some emergency money to pay for. Nothing has happened so far. So we have not spent any of that money. And as far as we can tell right now, we are not intending to use any of it. So conclusion, our current budget is sufficient to get us through the rest of the year. Any questions on the budget?
Questions from directors? I'll just
Does this
ask.
agency have a line of credit?
No, we do not.
Okay, glad we don't. I'm glad we don't need it. Thank you.
Are we invested in GameStop? That's what I want to know.
Unfortunately, no.
I don't think we want to be in GameStop.
No,
It's going to crash eventually.
yeah, no, I know. And so from what I'm seeing, where we're over budget, you know, for our purchases of Term 91, although over the course of 2 years, it sort of evens out. Is that correct? Because we didn't use it at all last year, and we use it, so it's all kind of out in the wash over the course of 2 years. But then with those other savings that we realized, Tim, that more than accounts for what we've been paying for the water purchases. Is that correct?
Yes, yep, that's correct.
Good. Any other questions on this? Hearing none, we can move on now to item 5, which is considering approval of the 2025 contract with the Department of Energy.
Yeah, so I can give a little bit of background on this one. So the joint intake has WAPA Power. It's Western Area Power Authority. This is a little known electrical utility run by the federal government, Department of Energy, that provides essentially hydropower in the Western United States. It's only available to large institutional users, I think, by contract only. So the intake has it because RD 2035 had it with their own intake. And so we were kind of grandfathered in. We do share a meter with them, and we have to split the electricity bill every month with them. A couple of years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, WAPA had a solicitation come out that they have some additional base power available for new users. So we applied at that time, it was about 3 years ago. And we applied for 2 things. One, to basically have our own power under our own name at the intake and get power for the water treatment plant. WAPA Power is rather attractive in that it's about 40% cheaper than PG&E. They have a very different pricing structure. They have the rates are very variable depending on what hydropower plants are running and when, and there's back charges that come in. But overall, it's a much less expensive supply of electricity. We were not approved to have our own meter at the intake. We're going to have to continue to share with RD 2035, and that's okay. But we were approved for, I think it was like 1,461 megawatt hours at the water treatment plant, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 25% of our annual electricity usage, at generally a 40% discount. So at the amount of electricity we use, this equates to somewhere in the neighborhood of a savings of $150,000 to $200,000 every year. When it starts in 2025. So this contract starts in 2025. Should the board approve it today, we will work on how do we actually make this happen. There's several steps yet to happen. We need to put in a meter at the water plant so we can track how much WAPA power we use separately, and then work with PG&E on using their transmission mains to bring WAPA power to the water treatment plant. We've done some research on how to make that happen. None of it seems to be overly complicated. And we have 5 years to really get it done. So we'll work on that pending board approval of the contract. I can answer any questions that you may have on it.
Sure. Questions about this item? I will also ask that the clerk chime in if we do have public comment. I know I didn't specifically ask for that at the last item, although even when we were doing meetings in person, we very seldom got public comment at this body. But I'm not hearing a clamor for public comment on this either. And it sounds like there's not a lot of questions about it. There's probably nobody feeling particularly warm and fuzzy about PG&E at this very moment. Is that correct, Tom?
Oh, yes. You can, there's a lot of angst around here. I don't know. Are you getting any information in your city, Will?
No,
We're getting almost nothing.
We're getting almost nothing as well. We had a little bit come in last night. But not more than what you had shared. So with that, I'll entertain a motion if there is one.
We need a motion?
We do need a motion to approve the contract.
I move we approve the contract, with the WAPA contract.
Moved by Director Stallard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Chapman. Any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Director Stallard,
Aye.
Vice Chair Landsberg. I wasn't giving you your full title, Rich.
Aye, and can you sign them up for my residence as well?
Yeah, how do we get? We'll just send you a handful of addresses after the meeting. Director Chapman?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, so it passes. Thank you for your work on this. This sounds like a great opportunity. For sure, we'd all love to take advantage of it.
And there may be an opportunity in 2023 to request additional power. We're a little bit unsure on how that works yet, but we may be able to try to add to that supply.
Great. All right, thank you. So item 6.
Item 6 is basically a paperwork catch-up item. We have been part of YC Parmea since 2009. We have been a paying customer of them since 2009. But either a resolution was never signed at that time or it was lost over the years. So YC Parmea asked us to provide them a resolution confirming that we're part of them. So this is really, all it is a resolution that, yes, we are part of YC Parmea. They are our insurance provider, and they have been for a decade.
Move approval of a
This one.
relationship with them.
Yeah, this is very straightforward, although you answered the question I had, which is why is it even happening? But they must need it. So there is a motion from Director Stallard. Is there a second?
Second by Rich.
Seconded by the Vice Chair. Okay, any?
Could I just say,
Go ahead, Tom.
does Josh understand what YC Parmea is? You might explain to him.
Possibly not. It's Tom, I bet you were there when it was invented. So why don't you explain?
It was been around, but I've been around too. It's a risk management authority whereby all the public jurisdictions that wish to share the risk. It's like our own little Lloyd's of London. And basically they rate all of the agencies that participate, and we contribute an annual sum, and then they act as our insurance carrier. They operate out of a obscure little building on Lincoln in Woodland. And it's interesting, and it saves us all a lot of money. So that's why you don't hear a lot about insurance claims, because YC Parmea takes care of them for our jurisdictions.
And the city of Davis is obviously a part of it as well as several of these agencies.
It has its own board, and instead of us elected sitting on it, it's usually staff. And I think in our case, I think it might be our human relations person. So it's one of those little obscure things that's out there, Josh.
Yeah,
a few of them.
Yeah, definitely. I got a brief overview with our human resources manager when I first came on. So I have a basic understanding of it, but thank you for providing more info.
Okay.
So there's still a motion. It was seconded by Rich. So there's a motion and a second. So I'll call the roll. Tom, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So send them the good news. So that brings us to, how did I lose my agenda? That brings us to item 7, which is the long range calendar. I will note that we meet quarterly typically, although we did just have a special meeting that was timely, and the next meeting is scheduled for tax day at 3 p.m. So make sure you have that all figured out before then. I don't want to see you licking envelopes at the meeting.
We have till midnight.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, there's plenty of time after the meeting. Anything else, Tim or Stan, that you'd like to add?
The only other thing that we're doing is we're meeting with Josh next week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and taking a tour of the water plant and basically agency background and information.
Great.
Explain some of the obscure terms that we use.
Sure, it's quite the operation, and maybe on a nicer weather day, I would suggest going out and visiting the intake as well, which is not particularly far. It's off of I-5 right before you cross the river. It's pretty neat to see. Okay, so that's long range, and then what's item 8? How do I keep losing my place in my agenda? Item 8,
member
board
comments.
member comments. There it is, right there on the board. Are there any comments from board members? Hearing none, I'll just once again say thank you to our staff for all of this great work. I think the evidence of your great work was present at this meeting as well, both the budget item and the where we are with our water purchases, which took a lot of effort to do, and so thank you for that. And then on this power thing too is a great opportunity that I'm excited that we get to be a part of. So I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Once again, the next meeting is scheduled for April 15th at 3 p.m.
Thank you so much, Will. Thank you,
Thank
colleagues.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Will.
all.
Good day.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, let's see here. Let me stop recording.
Okay, good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Michelle, you're the host. You have to stop the recording, I believe.
Okay.